Okay. So we have a small crowd here this morning. It is a holiday, so this is our group call for Monday, February 17th, and it is being recorded. So today's call, I'm calling this real estate sales, but there's more to it than that, and you'll see why when we get through there, right? So the next slide is, so it's about evaluation. Okay, here comes viewer 3. Evaluation. Knowing others is intelligence. Knowing yourself is true wisdom. So I looked up how to pronounce these words, and I think it's like Lao Cha. And then the other ones I didn't get that far. So, but Lao Cha is how you pronounce the person's name. And I think the other title, I think it's the name of a book. So anyway, but how cool is that, right? Knowing others, it's pretty smart to know others. But knowing yourself, that's wisdom, right? So we're going to go through that. That's kind of our theme for this morning, and that coincides with our other theme is, you don't rise to the level of your expectations. You fall to the level of your education or the level of your training. So this knowing yourself just falls right into that category, right? So let's move on to the next one. So in order to be successful in a real estate sales practice, you need to have certain skills. You need to figure out your strengths and your weaknesses, right? Okay. Now I know you can read this, but I'm going to read it out anyway. Some you should work on your weaknesses and make them stronger. And me personally, I'm like hogwash. I am a believer of focusing on your strengths and delegating your weaknesses, right? So delegate out your weaknesses. So because you're going to have strengths and weaknesses. And the thing is with real estate with any sales business, there's two sides of your operation, right? Or there's two sides of your business, sales and operations. And so typically you're good at one and you have weaknesses in the other, right? So you're either good at sales and weak in the operations side, or you're strong in the operation and weak on the sales side. So what we're going to go through next is I have 21 points. We're not going to go through all 21. I want to first give you a sigh of relief right now. So we're not going to go through all 21 today, but what I'm going to do is go through a handful of what I thought were the most important ones. I mean, they're all important, but the ones I think that are more relevant. And then I'm going to send you the slides, or I'm going to send a link out that has all 21. And I want you to evaluate yourself on those. And then I'm going to start recording videos on each of the topics. In fact, we did a couple of them last year where we went through and made them, a couple videos, but I'm going to go through more and more of those. And I'm going to work my way through all 21. And then there'll be a series for that. But in the meantime, let's go through that. So I want you to rate yourself on the following. And if you have pencil and paper, go for it, right? So, excuse me. So I want you to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. And so, so 6 and above, 6 to 5, 6, or 7 definitely needs a little bit of improvement. It's okay, but could use some improvement. 8, 9, and 10, you're doing really good. So 5, 6, and 7, a little bit of improvement. Below 5, you definitely need to either work on that or definitely delegate it, right? Those are your options, right? So 1 through 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8, 9, 10. So even 7, you could maybe not have to delegate it, but it's, a little you can improve on that yourself. But 1, 2, 3, 4, I mean, I don't know that you need to improve on that. I mean, just hire it out, right? So let's look at what the list is, right? So let's go through the first one. Time management. Obviously, you can't delegate that. You just have to learn it, period, right? Time management. If you control your time, you control your life, okay? And if you're not in control of your time, that means everybody else is. Now, I'm going to pick on you, Danae, and not you personally, because you're the you're the female mom that's on the call, right?
Right.
So, and moms tend to, help, they're just wired that way. When kids need something, they just do it, right? It's not about a schedule that way. I mean, you may have a schedule with kids, but when the kid needs something, therefore you do it. Now, that doesn't work in real estate practice, right? Now, your clients are going to love it because they're like, well, I could call you anytime and you're going to drop what you're doing and help me. Well, that's not time management. Well, let me rephrase that. It is time management, but other people are managing your time. So now there is a time and a place. I'm not saying you don't service people. That's hogwash. So, but you need to have blocks of time, and there's some times that are blocked off that are sacred that you're not to be interrupted during that time. Right? Does that make sense?
It does. Easier said than done.
It's not. You just have to make it a habit. You just have to turn your phone on Do Not Disturb and just say, I'm not available. Well, let me ask you this. So it's a great, and you just brought up a great point. So, and the main topic we're talking about, controlling your time, is with lead generation activities, right? Appointment setting sessions. So let me ask you this, and this is to everybody on the on the call. If you were on an appointment, a listing appointment, would you take a phone call and drop what you're doing and help that person?
Absolutely not.
Okay. So absolutely not. Well, I'm here to tell you your appointment setting sessions are more important than the actual appointments. So if you wouldn't do that during an appointment, why would you do it during your appointment setting sessions? Because the sessions of setting appointments is the lifeblood. I mean, it is your blood, period. Without the blood, you have no life. Got that?
Got it.
And that's for all of you, not just Danae. I'm not picking on Danae. It's just that they tend to have that propensity to drop what they're doing and help people. So now I do it too, but there are times when I don't. Like if I'm teaching a class, I can't do it. If I'm prospecting, I don't take calls. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb, and then I even turn the ringer to silent so I don't even hear it. It doesn't buzz. It doesn't vibrate. Don't hear the ding of a message and all that kind of stuff. Close your Facebook when you're in appointment setting sessions, right? You have to manage your time. Now, here's the cool part. When you have a strict schedule, you will actually have more freedom than if you don't. See, when you don't control your time, you don't have any freedom. Because if you're handling everybody else's situations throughout the day, then you're like, okay. And then you look back and say, my gosh, I was busy all day, but I didn't get a thing done. Now you're like, I got to get something done. Now you're kind of working and trying to do things out of guilt. That's not freedom, right? Freedom is, I did my appointment setting sessions. I didn't get any appointments, and I don't have any appointments for the rest of the day. Therefore, I can take the rest of the day off guilt-free. That's freedom. That's freedom. Okay? All right, we can't spend a lot of time. I got to get through these points. So, rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, right, on time management. Now I want you to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, prospecting, including past clients and center of influence, because you can really break those up into two major categories, right? Prospecting, those you know, those you don't, right? If everybody you know has bought and sold a home, now what? Right? You're going to have to do the prospecting, right? So if you want to grow your business, I mean, now if you're content with the number of transactions you've done with your past clients and center of influence, that's okay. Then you don't need to do the prospecting. Okay? So, but if you're not content, you got to figure something out. You got to start talking to people you don't know. You got to have a sessions for that. And that's time management, right? Okay? So let's get to the next one. Lead follow-up. Probably the most under-taught topic in real estate. And Charles, I posted, the fortune is in the follow-up. And Charles posted a graph one time, but they say that the sale happens after 5 or 7 contacts or attempts, right? That's when the appointment happens. So if you have a lead, it takes 5 to 7 attempts or contacts to actually get an appointment. So if you just try and set an appointment and follow up once, well, let's face it, you don't have a healthy sales business. How would you rate yourself in lead follow-up on a scale of 1 to 10? Right? Excuse me. So let's move on to the next topic. Pre-qualifying. Now, this one here, and I'm guilty of it as well, and I'm learning when I was in the actual sales practice of real estate, I got really good at pre-qualifying. And because I just got tired of going on unqualified appointments. You're sitting there at 6:30, 7 o'clock at night, you're dressed, you got a suit on, and you're like in somebody else's house. And you're like, and then, halfway through the appointment, you're like, my gosh, if I'd have pre-qualified these a little better, I wouldn't have went on this appointment. Right? So pre-qualifying will save you a lot of time and a lot of feeling of rejection, right? So when you go on unqualified appointments, you wind up not getting them, and then what happens is you start to associate all appointments with rejection. And when that happens, when you start associating the unqualified appointments that you're not going to get the listing with rejection, you're starting to associate the two together, then subconsciously you will not want to go on appointments, which means you will subconsciously not want to lead generate. See how important that is to pre-qualify? It's very, very, very important. You got to know, hey, when I come out there today at 4, do you plan to list your home with me? Plan to interview more than one agent for the job of selling your home? How much do you want to list your home for? Realistically. Please describe your home to me. That one there, I do a whole video on that, just on describing your home, because it's not allow them to say it's nice. No, I drill down. I really drill down when I'm on tell me about your house. And what about a buyer? If you're talking to a buyer, hey, let's get together. Hey, if we find a house that fits your needs, and I like to load the question. So what I mean by that is, let's say they tell you they want a Rambler, 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath Rambler in Sandy, with a family room and finished basement, blah blah blah, and they give you the whole spiel, right? Everything they want. So then I would say to them, hey, let me ask you this question. If we found that perfect Rambler for you today, I mean, it had 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, had the finished basement, the fenced yard, I mean, the updated kitchen. If we had all that, if we found one of those today, are you prepared to make an offer? Hey, isn't that a great question to ask? Because what if they say, well, we're not really ready to buy for a couple months? Oh, okay. So let me ask you, did you want to start did you want to start looking at a couple months, or you want to be, did you want to start the process in a couple months, or do you want to be moved into your house in a couple months? Well, we want to start. Okay. Doesn't mean you don't work with them, but just know where you're at. Just don't run out willy-nilly. Now, I may run out and show a house, because to me, showing a house to kind of an unqualified buyer is not really, I consider that lead generation and lead follow-up more than I consider that a unqualified appointment, if that makes sense. Because the NAR statistics say that 2/3 of all buyers will only interview one agent. So if they call you up, run out and show them one house, you got in front of them. Now you got them as a qualified lead. Most agents say they won't do it, but I'm like, I think you're foolish. Get in front of them. Now you got an appointment. Now you can qualify them. So anyway, so let's get on the next one. The listing presentation. How are you on the listing presentation? Now, do you have what I call a canned presentation? And if you answered no, that's not true. even just because you don't do someone else's canned presentation doesn't mean your presentation hasn't become canned. You got that? Canned presentation just simply means you say the same things over and over and over. And I promise you, if you've been in this business for any length of time, you say the same things on every appointment. Now, here's the question. Are they effective? Right? Are they effective? Do you have a listing presentation that is designed to get the signature? Right? A well thought out and a well planned canned listing presentation is designed to ask a series of questions that actually leads them to the closing. The closing is natural, right? All we need to do now is simply sign the contract. That way I can help you get what you want and the time you want. Won't that be great? And they're like, yeah, but it's designed in a fashion and a sequence to get them to sign. So learn it. Stop winging this, right? I mean, we all seen the movie A Few Good Men, where Jack Nicholson does that famous speech, while you're at parties, you want me on the wall, right? You don't, and it's true, right? These are soldiers out on the front lines, and then you got bureaucrats in the back telling them how to fight a war. And these guys are warriors. And they're being told how to fight a war without war. I mean, it's an amazing speech. Now, do you think he got up there and just winged it? No. He had a script and he had to learn it and he internalized it and he got up there and did it. Now, did he do it in one take? Probably not. I don't know. I mean, but he learned that script and he nailed it. Right, and it could have even been chopped up and cut up, and then back and forth between people. It wasn't one long presentation. But anyway, your listing presentation needs to be a performance. You need to go in there and you need to perform. You need to guide them through the process. That is the power of a listing presentation. So when you go on a pre-qualified appointment, knowing that they're going to sign a contract with someone, so it might as well be you, and then you go in there with a powerful listing presentation, the odds of you taking that listing are great. Absolutely great. They're a lot better than going into an unqualified appointment. Because again, if you go into an unqualified appointment, you don't even know if they're ready to sell. They may be just curious to see what their house is worth. So ask. All right, let's go to the next slide. Handle objections. How good are you at handling objections, right? Remember, an objection is nothing more than an unanswered question in the mind of a prospect, right? That's all it is. So if someone actually throws an objection at you, you should smile because they're not telling you to leave. When they're giving you an objection, they're playing a little hard to get. Answer the question in a professional manner, right? Well, we never, what do you do to sell homes? Well, that's a great question. When you go ahead and sign that contract, we're going to start marketing your home. First of all, we're going to put it on the largest websites on the planet. I mean, we're going to put it on the largest websites in the state of Utah. Then we're going to put it on hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of other real estate agent and brokers' websites. Right? I mean, that's what you want, isn't it? Yeah, great. So they asked a question. It's just a simple objection. I answered it. And then I closed with, that's what you want, isn't it? Yeah, great. All we need to do now is simply sign the contract so I can help you get what you want and the time you want. Well, that'd be great. I mean, these are scripts that I've internalized. I'm not making this stuff up. That's how you handle an objection. Just you answer the question, comma, close with, or do what they call a trial close. That's what you want, isn't it? I call that technique comma new question, right? They ask you a question, you answer it, and then you put a comma and ask another question. Because whoever's asking the question is in charge of the conversation, right? Let's do a sign call. Hey, I was calling about the property. Okay, great. What can I do? How can I help you? Well, how much is it? Well, it's $389. How many bedrooms? 4. How many baths? 2.5. How big? Blah, blah, blah. Who's in charge of that conversation? The person asking the questions. So questions, right? Sales is a series of questions that leads people to a decision. Your listing presentation is a sales presentation. So it's important. So you need to rate yourself on these topics. Where are you on a scale of 1 to 10? Now, you can't all delegate out some of the, these are some of the things you really can't delegate out, right? Pre-qualifying, the listing presentation. You need to learn these. These are sales. Because if you're in a sales business, you're sales. Now, the things you can delegate out are usually operations, right? So let's move to the next one. Practicing scripts and developing skills. How would you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10? When was the last time you practiced? Think about that. When's the last time you practiced the script? So let's talk about practice, right? How important practice is. Now, let's take an NFL quarterback. They say Patrick Mahomes' contract is going to be like $40 million a year because he's finishing out his rookie contract. I mean, the guy just won Super Bowl MVP of the Super Bowl. He's still in his rookie contract. They're usually like 4 or 5. They're usually like 4 years. And then once those are up, then he can either negotiate a contract with his current team, and if they won't, then he go to another team. So, but they're not going to let that guy go. So, I mean, he's like 23 years old. His contract's going to be $40 million a year. Think about that. Now, let's talk about practice. How many hours a week do they practice? I mean, during the off season and the training camp during the week, they don't do a lot of physical practicing because, they got to save their bodies, but they do walkthroughs. But a quarterback, right? The reason why they make so much money is they spend hours upon hours upon hours watching film of their opponents. How do they line up? When this guy's in this kind of motion, what happens? When this guy stands there, what kind of attack are they doing against the quarterback? If they line up in this defensive position, how do they, what are the weaknesses of that? There's always a weakness and there's always a strength in every formation. They all have weaknesses and they all have strength. So he's analyzing them because remember, he plays the opponent. He studies them all week, and then they do the studying. Then they go out on the field and they do walkthroughs. They design their plays based on their opponent's weaknesses. They're going to exploit those and try and stay away from their strengths. But anyway, now let's think about all that practice we just talked about all week long. Now, when they get into a game, let's just say the offense and the defense is split 50-50, meaning your team possesses the ball, the offense, half of the game. That's 30 minutes. Well, there's 40 seconds between plays. The actual play, right? They may run, I don't know, 40 plays. 50. Say they run 50 plays. Each play might be 7 seconds, right? So if you do, I'm going to put my calculator on the screen. If you run 50 plays times just 6 seconds, that's 300 seconds. Divide that by 60. That's literally 5 minutes of actual play time. Think about that. They're actually only playing. They're in play for 5 minutes. Now, sometimes they go up to the line of scrimmage and they run the clock down. If they got the lead and they don't want their opponent to have the ball, so they take all 40 seconds. They go to the huddle and say, hey, I'm just going to hand it off to the halfback. He's going to run up the middle. And that's the play. Everybody knows the play. The defense knows the play. The offense knows the play. But they take all 40 seconds of the play clock and do that 4 times. They just, it's 160 seconds. They just almost ran 3 minutes off the clock. So, anyway, but their actual in play is only 5 minutes. Imagine that. But yet they practice maybe 30, 40 hours to run those 5 minutes of plays. Think about that. Excuse me. Sorry about that. So anyway, so think about how much do you practice, right? So to make 40 million, you have to practice a lot. Right? Do we have any more on this page? No. So that's it. So those are the ones we're going to go through today. Now there are 21 points, and I'm going to send you the email that has a list of all 21 points so that you can evaluate yourself on the rest. Now the sales, now you can delegate these out. However, I want you to think about this. If somebody were actually good at sales, why would they work for you? Right? Why would they be on your team? Right? They would just go out and do their own sales, and then they would delegate the operations side. So if you want to control a business, now that doesn't mean you can't delegate the appointments in the sales operations, but you need to have, in order to do that, you're going to have to give somebody about, 40 leads a month in order to work for your organization. So if you don't have 40 leads a month to hire somebody and then all the systems in place, right, to have all the back end operations in place, then they're not going to work for you. They're just going to go work for themselves. So yeah, can you delegate sales? Absolutely. But, but it can be done. However, we're talking about an individual agent operation at this point. So you need to evaluate yourself on these, improve these, and then, and if you don't become a master, let's say you go from, 6 deals to 12. Well, you doubled your business. With that kind of revenue, you can do more, and then you can go from 12 to 24. It's a lot easier to go from 12 to 24 than it is from 0 to 10. That's for sure. But why? Well, because one, you now have experience behind you. 2, you have some systems in place, and you have revenue. Revenue. Revenue is a key item in running a business, right? And that's one of the points we talk about in the 21. Do business? Are you treating this like a business? Or are you just treating it like a job that you have no boss, right? Because if you treat it like a job and you have no boss, then it's not a business. You're not self-employed. You're self-unemployed. Got that? You're self-unemployed. So think about that. So anyway, that's it for today's call. Now, so let's open it up to questions. So do you have any questions for me? So if not, you either all fell asleep or I did such an amazing job presenting this information. I clearly have no questions.
I have a question.
Okay.
On the listing presentations, do most people use like something they flip through or a laptop? What do most people use?
I personally, some people use the laptop where they have a presentation. I find that those are, I personally, as tech savvy as I am, I don't like them. And let me explain why. So I actually bring paper presentation because when you're on a presentation, a large portion of your presentation is going to be the price. So I have a lot of papers floating around because they're the comparable sales. I want the people to hold the comparable sales in their hands. I want them to be taking notes. So what I'm doing with that is I have paper in their hand and I have pencil in their hand. I have paper and pen in their hand and they're writing. Because what am I doing? Like I said, it is a sequence to get them to sign a contract. And by putting paper and pen in their hand, I'm sequencing them to sign papers. So that's why I don't like doing an electronic version of it. Now, is it, can you bring a list of your, because it's just a series of questions. You said over the phone you were moving to Seattle, right? Yes. Okay. And you said you had to be there in 90 days. Is that correct? Yeah. And you said you'd like to list your home at $395,000. Is that correct? Yeah. I mean, Pardon me. So, I mean, those are just questions, right? There's nothing wrong with having all your, excuse me, pardon me. Sorry about that. So there's nothing wrong with having a list of questions written down. And that, because remember, the presentation is nothing but a series of questions. That's it. It's not a lot of telling. Because remember, telling isn't selling. If you're telling them something, you're not in sales. If you're asking questions, you're now in sales. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. And I find when I use paper, I can get them to look at me more often, more eye contact.
Right, they're engaged.
Uh-huh.
I like having paper spread out all over the counter. So when I pull out the contract, it's just another document on the counter. On the table.
Yeah.
So tomorrow is office meeting. So if you're registered, please go. Because we order food based on, your RSVP. So, and it's, I think it's wasteful to order food and then not have you show up. So anyway, any other questions? No?
Nope.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and end the recording and end the call. Thanks for joining us. I know it's a holiday day. For those who have kids at home, enjoy the rest of the day. However, I would encourage you to make phone calls. You saw the post I put on Facebook. It is the competitive advantage of a holiday is people with good jobs and good credit typically have the day off today, right? It's the low wage jobs that don't have off today. Think about that. Make your calls. So anyway, I got to go, boys and girls. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.